Monday is what is known as Columbus Day here in Fargo, but maybe not for much longer. The Fargo Native American Commission has passed a resolution to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. Now, the city of Fargo, the Fargo City Commission, is going to vote on this Monday night. So with us to have this discussion about why they want to change the name of the day, the treasurer of the Fargo Native American Commission, Crystal Gonzalez. Welcome to 630 Point of View. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So what would you say? I think a lot of people, this has been a conversation now going on for quite some time in Fargo. A lot of people saying, okay, this is just way too PC. I mean, why do we need to change the name of a day? What do you say to that?
Well, first off, I guess I would say, why do we celebrate Columbus Day? Does anyone really know who he is? And I think if people learn who he is, they'll see that he had nothing to do with America. He had never stepped foot in United States soil. Furthermore, he died a couple hundred years before the creation of the country, and he committed mass genocide. So there isn't really anything that we should be celebrating that's positive about Columbus. But if we want to talk about the people who discovered America, the people who discovered the United States and the land that we live on, that would be the indigenous people. And what a great way for us to connect with the thousands of years of civilization that lived here prior to the development of the United States.
So by changing it, you hope to accomplish what?
Greater unity, greater identification. I think that American citizens are yearning for an opportunity to connect more with the land that they live on. We all love our country very deeply, and it would be great if we could connect to very proud cultures and history that's very rich.
Now, you talked about the genocide and things of that nature, obviously, that the history of Columbus talks about or has been talked about, demonstrated. Some people would say, hey, tribe to tribe, Native Americans, wasn't like they were having everyone over for dinner every night. I mean, they were savages to each other as well.
Well, savage. I mean, we could say the same about Vikings, like the Visigoths in Rome. I mean, people fight. But the fact of the matter is, the Europeans, when they came to colonize the United States, they came to America where people who of indigenous heritage lived. They didn't go to any other country. So learning about the history of the land is very important. Whether it's good or bad history, it's still the accurate history.
Talk to me about let me ask you this first. So would you be okay if they said, hey, you know what? We're going to keep Columbus Day, but we're also going to include an Indigenous Peoples Day. Would you be okay with that, or does it have to be an either or?
Well, right now, the state of North Dakota, and what I like to think is an infinite wisdom, chose not to celebrate Columbus Day. We don't recognize it already, so half the battle's there. And really what we want to do is encourage more education about the region, the tribes and the land. There's a great history out there that's not talked about, that's not shared, and we're welcoming that discussion.
So would you be okay, though, with having both days be celebrated, or does it have to be just Indigenous Peoples Day?
Well, ultimately, we are going to make the case with the federal government. I think 20-some states already don't recognize Columbus Day. There's a big movement in different cities across the country to abolish Columbus Day for precisely the reasons I mentioned. He's not someone we should be honoring in our country. He's not American. He committed genocide. Those are just the facts. Eventually, I think that our country will realize that, and we will move on from this.
So is that a yes or no to both? Or
I think that we should just realize that Columbus Day is not something that is positive for the U.S. I think that as American citizens, we can do better, and we can learn about something that's worthwhile. So I wouldn't say we should. I don't know anybody who does anything in Fargo, Moorhead, anyway, about Columbus. We have no parades. We have really nothing other than Columbus Day sales.
Here's what I'd love to hear from you, and I talk to as many Native Americans as I can about this, and I still never get a great answer, so hopefully we'll see what you can come up with, is that I look at it and I go, okay, here's probably one of, if not the most industrialized cultures ever on the face of the planet, obviously before the white man got here. We come here, and now you've got high alcohol rates. We just talked about, suicides essentially here, high suicide rates, a lot of challenges in the Native American communities. Why and how does that change?
Well, I think that there's not very much empathy for other fellow Americans. There's a severe lack of education. Most people don't know that Native Americans didn't have the right to vote until 1924. They don't know that they didn't have civil rights until 1968, and not even all of them. I mean, there are huge deficits, huge gaps and equity between Native Americans and the rest of the country. And I think that just being able to first teach our community and our youngsters the truth is a big step forward in getting past that.
Has the federal government got in Native Americans' way, or do you guys want more sovereignty, or say, hey, you know what, let's try to work better with the federal government?
I think that there's a lot of collaborative efforts now. I don't think that that there is necessarily a movement to get in the way of anybody. It's more of how do we work together? Because Native Americans don't feel like they are not Americans. They just feel like they are misunderstood. And mostly it's a misunderstanding, a miscommunication in the school systems. We basically exist in a closet that we bring out as a novelty every once in a while and then hide away most of the time.
I'm a little offended by that, but I understand what you're saying. And what I mean specifically is, I mean, I just, I wish there was a easier way to go about this, but I feel like we haven't, the thing that I have a problem with is everyone says, hey, the white culture is the right culture. You guys have obviously had a cultural genocide because of that, and it just doesn't, I got to figure out a better way, and I don't have those answers. But thank you for being here. Love to have you back, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. No problem.
No, don't. It's just part of this show. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the top trenders. And again, Hillary Clinton says, hey, more gun laws, and yes, gun manufacturers should be liable when people get killed. Much more coming up right after this.